do believe they should know about you. And I want to say it this way: don't be a politician. Politic after we hire you to do the job for us. Just be a normal person.
I just want to Malone, you look real good on camera. Right?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So if the ladies want to start first, then we'll go to the guys.
But you don't have earrings, Tim.
I don't have earrings. Nope.
So whoever wants to start it off, go ahead.
Dusty's a professional here. She's had more practice.
Dusty's everywhere. Dusty is everywhere, so dang, that's
Right.
the thing.
And you all mentioned making sure that we stay as people, representing people. My name is Dusty Johnson. I'm running for House District 63 because everyone is so good at what they do. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have time to come to the table to eat, see their family, let alone be a part of policy discussions. And these policy discussions are what affects their business, their family, how they operate their farming equipment, and their productions. So I want to be that voice for them, and the best way to be that voice from the Plains to the Gold Dome is changing the narrative. I want people to hire me. My resume is on my website. This is a hiring process throughout the campaign. Okay. You get to quiz us, you get to ask us questions. You should be emailing, texting, Facebooking, Twittering, writing cards, whatever the method is for you. You should be reaching out to the candidates, asking them the questions, and they should respond in a respectful, timely manner. And so I really want to be those boots on the ground, doing an oil change now less than every 3 weeks in all 7 counties because I want to be where the people are. And I very much value that you're not mentioning the names for these questions because the point of representation is I'm going to carry the voice for all 7 counties, all 88,800 people, which is the same population as all 64 other counties. So our voice is the same value across the state for every district. And someone needs to carry that voice, not throwing anyone under the bus saying so-and-so from this town, but our folks out here from this community and this community, and recognizing all the Plains are not the same, but it's time we reunite, bridge the gap between urban and rural, and that we actually get our voices to the table on behalf of those that can't even eat at the table because they're so busy doing what they're doing.
Definitely. And if you guys don't know Miss Dusty, man, she's a firefighter as well. I saw her in a nice little firefighter outfit. So she's out here fighting firefighters as well. So shout out to Dusty. All right, next.
I'm Jodi Walker. I am running for Morgan County Commissioner, District 1, unlike Tim, who's on the other side of the county. I love working with her. Like, I truly agree. I think the people at this table are bringing politics down to the people level. Freddie, I am so excited that we've motivated you enough to get out and vote. Like, that's our job. We're elected by all of you. We work for all of you. And I think in all of politics, but especially at the local level, we've kind of forgotten that. And again, you didn't think you were worthy of registering and stuff. We need the votes of everybody. I work with kids all across the region, especially in Morgan County, and watching them say, oh, well, my vote doesn't count, or my family can't vote. And it's like, why? Well, I don't know, we just never have. We need to bring politics back down to the people, and we need to bring out transparency. Because all this, like, our tax dollars are going in, and you should be able to say, oh, my tax dollars paid for this, this, and this, instead of people saying, I have no idea what my tax dollars paid for. I want to bring transparency to the table, and I want to bring the voice of the people. Morgan County is incredibly diverse. We're one of the fastest growing counties, not like Fort Collins is, but in rural areas, we have kids. A lot of counties have an outflow of kids. We have kids coming in. We have all this rich cultural tapestry that we could be tapping into that we aren't. So yeah, I'm here to be a voice of the people. And my background, I was born and raised here. I grew up here. I lived life here. Over the course of life, my life took a really different turn after a traffic accident. So I've seen the ups and the downs of this county, and we need to all come together and work as one.
Either one of the guys?
Sure. My name is Tim Malone. I'm running for Morgan County Commissioner in District 3. I want to start off by thanking Freddie and Juan for doing this. I think this is an incredible opportunity. And you're right, the technology, just doing this is so much more than most people have seen, most voters. So I hope everybody is tuning in to watch this. So thank you guys very much for having me here. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. That way people kind of understand what some of my values are. I was raised in Morgan County, went through the Morgan County School District, went to work for the Fort Morgan Police Department in 1993. So I've been there about 33 years. In that venture, I was a crisis negotiator. I handled 2 police canine units, and I'm currently a school resource officer. I've been a school resource officer for about the last 16 years. I work with today's youth at the middle school and some of the elementaries. It's very important to me, I feel, to gain that bond between law enforcement and today's youth. Sometimes that bond is just not bridging that gap, and so I really enjoy that job. I've been thinking about running for commissioner for about the last couple of years. Being in law enforcement for 33 years is a little tough. You know, it's changed drastically, as we could all probably agree, over the last several years. Biggest thing with me is accountability and accessibility. Again, as everybody is saying, working for the people, we have to be accountable for every penny that we get paid. All of my adult life working for the city of Fort Morgan, every single penny came from tax dollars. And those, I have to feel that those tax dollars are being well spent by you every time I receive a paycheck. And accessibility, again, you have to be able to be contacted, you have to return calls, and that's something that I'm going to dedicate myself to. If elected, I will resign from the city of Fort Morgan and kind of walk into the commissioner's job as being a full-time position and treated as such.
Do you think you're ready for that transition?
I think so. Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Brian?
My name is Brian Urdiales. I'm honored to be a Republican running for House District 63. About myself, I was born and raised here in Fort Morgan, Colorado. Graduated from Fort Morgan. Currently been a realtor, small business owner for 21 years here. Proud father of a son, he's 20, my daughter, she's 16. And kind of why I'm getting into my reason for jumping in this race is I worked as a realtor, volunteer, Colorado Association of Realtors, ran their government affairs, and a lot of things started happening in the capital. Usually they start happening in Denver County, they're in the capital, and along those lines I got on city council as well. And we start seeing all of these bills starting to pass, and everything, what happens there is ending up in our backyard right now. There's bills that pass that affect us that even when we're on council, if we vote no, it doesn't matter because it's a mandate. I mean, something just as ridiculous as plastic bags. I voted no, but it doesn't matter, it passed. It affects small businesses, and in turn it's a cost that goes over to the consumers that people are, like Dusty said, it's tough. People live in paycheck to paycheck, and all our state is doing is passing mandates that are making things more expensive to live.
Exactly.
And my biggest reason is I want to keep state government out of local and county government. Let us make our decisions out here in District 63. From day one, I've said we're not a one-size-fits-all. So everything that they're passing in Boulder, Denver County, Denver City, let them keep it and let us make up our own decisions out here in rural Colorado. So thanks again for having us, guys.
Yeah. So before, we're gonna get right into the questions. Another reason why is we're gonna be straight up on our questions that we asked, what the people have asked. For each one of you, Tim, I've known you for years. Sprayed my mom and dad's house, the lawns. I grew up being a cop. I'm sure we got in trouble. I got in trouble a lot from most of you guys.
I don't remember that, but okay.
I believe it.
I don't remember.
I believe it.
So that's how I know you, Jodi. Straight up and be honest with you, you were on another podcast that goes on here in town. I questioned who you were and your credibility. I changed my view. I got to know you, and I apologize for that because I know I've seen what you've done now firsthand. I've seen you at city council, and I've seen the things that you're doing and bringing to the table with these kids. I look up to you now because I think that's awesome.
And I apologize. I was in Florida when they did when he did the interview with you. I just want to say you're the candidate with the nicest smile. Real talk. For real.
So
You have the best compliments, Freddie. That is awesome.
So that's kind of how was with you, Jed, and I really do, I want to get more involved, and hope Freddie and I get more involved with what you guys do.
Definitely.
At the Kids at Their Best, I think that's awesome. And they do some stuff for us during the holidays that we appreciate a lot, so.
It's a good partnership.
Yeah, so, and Dusty is, I'd have to say, when I heard her say on another podcast in town that if you want to complain, you better vote, and if you don't vote, then don't complain. This is why I started, because I was gonna hammer on that, because I don't vote, and I think you guys should still be able to complain, but it is right. Brian, I've known you for years, I'm your family, I played football with your brother, great family. I was going to jump in the city council race when the last one was when it come up. I didn't do it because I knew I couldn't probably beat you. Because you have a name, you knew the city council part of it. I went and did sit on the commission board. I did that for a while, and that one was even pretty tough, I thought. I got advice, and I took some advice of maybe you should do something on the outside before you on the inside, because I like to be involved with the city and the community. And they thought maybe, so I took that advice and I'm rolling with it now. So this is why, if this doesn't even work, and no one, everybody gets mad at me for doing the things I'm doing it for myself so I can learn. And so Freddie and I can learn politics and the business, I guess you say. So that's what the spiel for each one of you guys is. Now we'll get straight into the questions. Some of these guys were pretty ruthless on some questions, so I cut some disrespectful stuff out because I didn't think it would be cool. See my hand.
I
right?
wanted to disrespect because I want to hear you guys' disrespect.
So we already went through the introduction. First off, I'll start with the ladies, and tell me what District 63, what is the reason and purpose, and what is your job? And then Commissioner, what is your definition of the job? So either you, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, so House District 63 is one of 65 House districts in the state of Colorado, representing the people at the state government level at the Denver Capitol. The role would be to vote in the House chamber on bills, to sit on at least 2 to 3 committees where the bills are first introduced, and work through those bills with other members, and then being boots on the ground in the communities that they represent, and hearing those voices to make sure that you are, the representative that you pick, that you hire, is telling the story of those folks in that region. And that really is their job, is to represent and be the microphone for the districts that hire them. And it's a 7-county multi-district area for ours.
And as Commissioner, what is your job description? What would be your job description?
So there's a lot of things involved in being a commissioner, but one of the primary things is all of the tax dollars coming into Morgan County, be it from the state level, the federal level, wherever. It's the job of the commissioners to decide where those tax dollars go. And that's covering roads and bridge, that's covering human services, that's covering all of the tax-based things. It's also covering some nonprofits. The biggest thing that I want to bring to the table is responsible use of those dollars. It shouldn't just be going to your buddy here and this organization that's been there forever. It should be used to the best use of the community. And we've got a lot of things that we've got to deal with. We've got to deal with our jails, we've got to deal with our EMS, we've got to deal with our roads. We've got a lot more things to deal with than we have tax dollars to deal with them right now. And it's the job of the commissioners to take those things, sort them out, decide what the priorities are, and not what the priorities are for my buddy here or my buddy there. What are the priorities for the majority of the people in the Morgan County community? And then to distribute accordingly. The other thing that I think the job of commissioners is I teach kids about leadership all the time. If you're gonna sit in these seats, you need to be a leader for all the people, from the seniors down to the little kids, for every culture that we have here, and for the wealthiest to the poorest people. If you can't govern to the least, you don't deserve to govern to the best. And commissioners need to take in all those things into account in making their decisions.
I respect that you're teaching to be, the kids to be leaders, because nowadays technology is teaching, they're raising the kids now. So,
Yeah.
boots on the ground, I respect it.
Yeah, so again, it's exactly what Jodi's saying. I mean, the job of a county commissioner is to budget, to decide where the tax dollars go, to allocate where that goes. and make important decisions. Some maybe not so popular as far as, again, what she said, you know, what needs to be fixed, what can't be fixed, just certain things that we have to do and keeping within limitations. I also think that it's a huge support system. We've got very, very good elected officials, we've got very good department heads, and we've got very, very good frontline county employees. And they know how to do their job, they go out and do it, and I think the Board of Commissioners is there, again, as a support system for them. What can I do to make the sheriff, to make the treasurer, to make the assessor, to make the director of the ambulance service, to make those people do their job better? I mean, what can I do to make you function and work right? And so I think that's it, a big part of it. Again, the money piece is big to make those decisions, but the people that work for the county, they've got to be supported, and they've got to know that their voice within that working function, that they do actually have a voice.
Dusty nailed it, what our job is when we get to the House at the Capitol. And like everybody says, is we have a budget to stay to as well at the state, just like at the county level, just like at the city level, we all have budgets to keep to. When we're there, we have 88,000 bosses, and we're never gonna make everybody happy, and we can't go up there thinking it's what we think's best, it's what's best for our constituents and what our constituents want. I remember when I got sworn in, Ron Schaefer said, if you make everybody happy, you're doing something wrong. And that's one thing that really resonated with me and sat the whole time when I was making decisions. And one thing I can say is, when I don't know the answer, I'm gonna reach out to the people who do know the answer, who can give me the best way and point me in the right direction, because I wanna do the right thing for the people. And it's, 5 months out of the year we're gonna be there, 5 days a week, so it's a lot.
So, next one. All right, we're gonna touch on attendance. How do you plan on balancing the people's job, your current job, and family life?
This would be just all for all four of you, because.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, Freddie.
I said, how do you plan on balancing the people's job, your current job, and family life?
Okay. Yeah, I think it is a very, again, I'm just speaking for the commissioner's seat, I think it is a very important job. You have to be available, but again, we also know that we have to be available for our families as well. Again, being in law enforcement for 33 years, there was a lot of times that my family just I didn't get to spend Christmas or birthdays with my family because I was in that job. I think that, again, it's just a balance. You just have to balance it out. You have to be able to keep your sanity, but then again, you're working for 29,000 people that pay your paycheck, and you have to be responsible to them. So it's just a balance.
Do you think as a commissioner, you're gonna be able to spend more time with your family than as a cop?
My kids, I've got 29-year-old twins, so they're grown. Yeah, I mean, that would probably open that up. My schedule now working in the schools is pretty good. It's Monday through Friday, with weekends and holidays off. So over the last 16 years that I've been as an SRO, that has allowed me to gain and to get closer to my family.
So I know this is a loaded question for me because everybody knows how many hours I put in with kids at their best. But one of the things that I explained to somebody the other day is half of my job is already dealing with the legislation and dealing with the politics and being at these meetings. So being at these meetings and actually having a say, to me, makes it easier. Like Tim, I've thought about running for commissioner for a while. I had younger kids. It wasn't the time. My kids are all grown now. The twins are working for the ambulance. The boys are working for us. Kara's in Denver. So now all that time that I spent raising 6 kids is time that I can spend in the commissioner's seat. Part of my time at Kids at Their Best, again, I'm at these meetings with the commissioners. I'm in there doing the political things. We're out connecting with the community. And I truly believe that there's 24 hours in the day and you should use every single one of them.
So do you think that you're more ready now than if you would have went into the politics 6 years ago?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I wasn't willing to compromise. You got to raise your kids up.
Yeah.
You can't go off and do something. Sometimes, okay, not with this group, but sometimes politics are a lot about egos. Man, you got to take care of your own house before you can take care of somebody else's house.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm all in on this campaign. I'm not married on this campaign. I don't have kids. I want kids one day and a family, so my passion really is let's fix it now. We always talk about fixing it for the future. Let's fix it in the present so we have a future. I am no stranger to, I've been working 40-hour salaries, but I'd put in 80, 90 hours that week because I don't watch the time clock. You're in session for 120 days in the House. Sorry, Brian, unfortunately, you're there for most Saturdays and a lot of the Sundays. And you are doing meetings at 5 a.m. until, easily until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. for committee work. So there really is no punching out the clock. You need to be there the whole time. My promise on this campaign and to the people, and when elected, is the people will be first. I am working now to preserve the present so we have a future, so I can have a future family, but I will make it work. This is only a $39,000 salary job, 120 days in session, but you still have committee work and interims. You still need to be boots on the ground, traveling to 7 counties in this district, and I am not afraid of hard labor. I will go be an AI person again. I will go fix fences, do babysitting, do catering, anything to make sure I'm fiscally responsible to take care of myself, but my main focus is the people.
I was just talking to Tim's wife here before we jumped on, and I just said, if my kids weren't the age that they are at currently, I would not get in this race, just because they need more time dedicated to them. Before I jumped in this race, I talked to my children, I talked with Jenny, I talked with my folks, and I made sure that they were also along for this ride with me. And they all agreed, they were all in, so of course I jumped in. And when I announced, I did talk to some friends, they said, you can quit selling real estate, and I said, absolutely not. Part of selling real estate is I'm everywhere, you know everything, people come up and they talk to you, we're borderline psychologists. In our office, people just walk in, they talk to you, hear day-to-day problems from how everything that's passed in this state affects us daily. We get people coming in like their house, they might not be able to afford their house anymore because property taxes went up so high. Also, you got insurance policies went up so high. All of a sudden, their payment went up $300, $400. You hear about all these things that people are going through. And I am gonna have to figure out if I'm lucky enough to be in the Capitol a year from now, covering my business and taking care of my business, but I'll definitely be able to do both. As a realtor for 21 years, your phone is on nonstop. People reach out to you nonstop because everybody wants instant gratification. There are like 27,000 realtors. In our county alone, there's probably about 100. And if you don't get back to somebody pretty quickly, they'll find somebody else. So my phone is always on, I'm replying quickly, and definitely going to be accountable for my business and as a legislator.
So question for the commissioners, the next one will be, let's see. What do you believe the reason is for finding good employees, keeping good employees, and how will you be involved in that process? And I guess that's probably be on the employee side of the county, I would believe. So I know where this question is kind of coming from as far as keeping people. It's hard to find, obviously right now it's hard to find good help, but keeping the people, how will you get involved in that? What will you guys do to do that?
Sure, absolutely, Juan. And you're right. Finding good people is difficult, and it's very important when you find good people to retain them. Over the last several years, I've looked at the benefits that the city of Fort Morgan provides, compared them to the benefits that the county provides for their employee. We at the police department have gotten, and don't quote me on this number, but roughly 7 to 8 really good deputies that have left Morgan County Sheriff's Office and have come to the Fort Morgan Police Department. They're telling our HR that it is a little bit higher pay at the city, but the biggest thing is the benefits. As far as the city employee, the employee is free. The family, the spouse and the family, whether you have 1 kid or 10 kids, it's been free. It's been that way in my entire career. So I'm wondering, and then this is a question, I guess. I would ask this question, if elected, is if the city of Fort Morgan can provide that great insurance compared to the county. I think the county, and again, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that as a county employee, they are paid for, but if you have a spouse and a family, it's an extra anywhere up to $1,000. They have made some changes recently, bringing that cost down a little bit, but still it's nowhere near what I believe the benefit package for a county employee could be. And keeping them, again, you know what, it's just having people as department heads, checking in with them, again, providing services for them. The better they do their job, the better they are with their employees. And so I think that communication and support is very, very important.
Again, echoing what Tim says, I really like I like working with him. We think the same. It works well. Absolutely on that benefit package, it was just in January that the county started paying for employee health care. Otherwise, employee health care started at $500 plus the deductibles, plus everything else. When you've got the city doing one thing and the county doing something radically different, there's got to be a better answer to that. The hiring thing is near and dear to my heart. Like we're in the process right now of onboarding 135 kids and 40 AmeriCorps members. So we're also paying this on taxes. So you probably don't want to up your taxes so we can pay everybody a ton of money, but there's ways to meet that. Like work-life balance, appreciating your employees, just like Tim said, why do we not have mentors for some of our employees? Why are we not doing just some really nice things, like actually going in and saying, hey, you're doing a great job today and I really appreciate you. And then backing that up with facts, making sure they have good benefits, making sure they have good working conditions, making sure that our supervisors feel empowered to do their jobs to the best of their abilities and not be hamstrung by somebody leaning over their shoulder going, I don't know if you should do that, even though I'm not an expert in that subject. I think we need to let people do their jobs. And back to this human part of this, these are the people that are shopping in our county, that are having kids in our county. This is our community. I want them to love being here, and I want them to be proud of working for Morgan County.
So next question will be for the district.
District 63?
Yep, go ahead, do that next question there.
All right, term limits, do you support them? If so, how many?
We do need to, term limits. We need them, well, we have term limits at the state. At the federal level, yes, we definitely need them. Maybe, say instead of 2 years, it's 4 years, and you're getting voted in every 2 years, maybe you're getting voted in every 4 years. Lengthen that time, but don't be up there and making a career out of it, because at the end of the day, a lot of them aren't working for us anymore. They're working for themselves and for their big packs. So I definitely support term limits.
Easy answer is yes. I've already signed the term limit pledge that if some legislation comes down to the state level to impose that on the federal level through Article 5, Convention of States, I am on board. I support we have it at the state level, and I definitely think, yeah, our legislative branch does need it.
So with the term limits, do you think that you should overlap, or they should just drop you in day one and go at it? I see some people get just dropped in the position of job that are running for the candidacy. Maybe don't even know what's all involved in it as day one starts. Do you think that the person that you've beaten or that was in that position should overlap with you, maybe a year or two, stay with you and kind of teach the way?
If I'm understanding your question right, like currently the seat is held by Richard Holtorf. So if I were to win, Richard would stay there and help me out.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yes.
I don't think that's how it should work. I mean, somebody could win. We're both running as Republicans. What if the Democrat was holding the seat? I mean, I don't think I would want my peer to be a Democrat or from something else that has different beliefs and running on different issues. So I don't think so.
What about for you guys?
The overlap? I think
maybe a 6 month period or maybe a year.
so. There is already an onboarding, like city councils go to CML. There's an onboarding for every politician. At the federal level, there's literally is it a week, 2 weeks, a boot camp for the new reps?
Oh, they come in a month early.
Okay. So there's already an onboarding process. And I think, much to Brian's point, if you've got two people running on really starkly different platforms, and then telling them to work together, maybe not so much. And that's also a waste of taxpayer dollars. Are you going to pay both of them to be there for 6 months? You know, there's already a good onboarding process in, and I believe if you're going to be a legislator, you should do a whole lot of research before you get in these seats.
I'm going to jump just right in because I want to answer this as well. I don't think we should. The people are hiring for a reason, and the reason we have elections is people don't like who's in, they hire someone else. You take away the people's voice if we have an overlap, and honestly, it's up to the people to vet out, to interview, if this candidate is equipped to have this job. If they can't hit the ground boots running and take the fire hose as they go, the people need to pick better and actually interview and do a little more research on their candidates. So it really is a people initiative that they should be doing, and we shouldn't take away that vote from them.
So what if they're doing a good job? Are you guys going in there, following their lead and continuing to do what they were doing, or you're going with a whole different mindset?
Well, them doing a good job is totally up to the voters. So the voters are the ones deciding whether they're doing a good job. It's not mine, it's not the candidates to do that. So, and that's why you have a democracy. In the commissioner's office, you do have an overlap because District 1 and 3 run in the presidential year, and then District 2 runs
So you'll
two
almost have
years
one
after.
city.
So yeah, so you're not gonna wake up tomorrow morning or January or whatever with an entire brand new board. So there is not necessarily an overlap, but it's not a clean out in one time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
There's also that 2 months in between the election is early November. Nobody will take their seats until January.
Right.
Now, since Brian hit on it, when you said if there was a Republican or Democrat vice versa in the seat, and if maybe they wouldn't want you to do a good job. Now, the question would be, for you guys, do you really think that Republican or Democrat should even be a choice for you guys in your position? Because I think in upward government, yes, but down here in the commission seat, I mean, do you think you should be labeled a Republican or Democrat?
I don't.
Okay.
Everybody knows that I'm in the middle. Like, by virtue of the work that I do, I'm not really accepted in the Republican Party. I'm way too conservative for the Democrats. So I'm feeling a little bit like a fish out of water here. I think that people get skewed so much by federal politics and all of the rhetoric that comes down. They don't realize that local stuff, this is just 36 square miles that we're managing. It doesn't matter if I have 3 horns and 4 eyes if I'm working for the people of the county. I think partisan politics at a local level skews things, and I wish we didn't do it. Same with school board, same with city councils.
Yeah, and I guess I would kind of agree with that as well. Obviously, you have people that are going to vote straight lines, and then, I think Jodi said it at the beginning, vote for the person, not the party. You have a whole slew of different voters and how they think out there and what they believe in. But I tell you what, I voted for one of the past sheriffs who was a good friend of mine who was a Democrat. And because I knew he was going to do a good job, he did a great job for many, many years. So, yeah.
Well, and on that note, I have had a ton of people look at me and say, oh, you're a Democrat, I can't vote for you. It's like, excuse me? Like, same person, so sorry that there's a technicality, because, again, there's only 3 of us. It's not like we're voting on party lines or anything, and there's nothing countywide that's a party vote.
All right, I got a question from Messenger. How do the candidates get their information and stay updated on what's going on, and how would they advise voters to get information?
I can tell you that when I decided to run, I did a lot of homework. The Morgan County government has a fantastic website. There literally is something on there that says what you need to know to run for a public office. And it outlines every single thing that you need to do. It has a calendar in there. It's got 100 and some bullet points. Now, again, running for county commissioner, there's only certain bullet points that I focused on. How soon do you have to have this in? The difference on getting on the ballot. Somebody once said there were 4 candidates in District 1. Every candidate should have been on the ballot to give people choice. If all those candidates would have done their homework, they could have petitioned on and easily been on there. So I knew I didn't know exactly who I was gonna throw their name in the hat in District 3, so I did insurance. I went back and I started my petition. When I found out it was just myself and my opponent, I knew that getting the percentage of the votes in the assembly was much more doable. I knew it was gonna be difficult in District 1 for the Republican side. Just because there's 4 candidates, you have to have 30%. Not that good at math, but you know you can't divide up 100% 4 ways and still come out. So some of those candidates could have gotten on the ballot if they would have. But again, the website, or the Morgan County website, it lays it out. You could put that in front of an 8th grader and they would say, okay, this is what I need to do, this, and this. And it's all exactly lined out. And I'm sure Mr. Stroud probably told you that, that process when he talked to you.
So for people getting information, pay attention, ask questions. I know I've had so many people ask, does everybody get a vote for the commissioner candidates? Because there's a lot of things in our democracy that we kind of take for granted, right? So indeed, all of our county commissioner positions are at large and everybody gets to vote for the county commissioners no matter where you live within the county. But again, there's websites. Reach out to all of us. I am positive that every last one of us, if you have a question, we'll answer our phones, we'll answer our emails. We want to talk to you. And I really implore people to do their own research. Don't just take for granted what somebody says, because I've heard so many things that are inaccurate being shared around. Like, actually go and investigate. Ask the questions. Don't be afraid. We work for you.
Yeah, I would say on my end, I definitely believe in the grunt work. Before you do any kind of leadership role, you should work your way from the bottom up. Worked 8 years in politics, federal level, state level, and as a chair at the local level. So really have lived and breathed walking through many candidates through this process. I'm about to graduate from a constitutional and Declaration of Independence class because I really want to dive into what our founding fathers envisioned for us here as a nation and as a state. I also, though, do empower myself to go look at that, and I think a lot of the issue right now is complacency. We have the information, and it is hard for people to find. The government does that on purpose. You don't teach the bases how to overrun you. So I think we need to get better as statesmen and changing the word from politician to educating the voters on how to find their own research and how to make their own decisions. Get involved, get informed, and if you vote, you get active. So really making sure you're asking these questions. State level, federal level, you ask a question. That's public information. Those representatives and members have to respond to you with that information. Hold them accountable. Make them do the work for you as the people to give you the information. And, I don't know everything, so I am blessed to have a grassroots campaign of at least 20 people in every single county and every single municipality that will tell me events coming up, tell me what's happening at their city councils, their economic development, their chambers, because it really, one person for 88,800 people is not efficient. That's why you rely on the people. It's the people's government for and by the people, and I'm just taking lessons and directives from them. But really, it's make sure you get informed, make sure you're asking the questions, and we have to hold each other accountable. The statesmen have to hold the people accountable to make sure they know what they need to do, but the people need to hold the statesmen accountable to get the information out there in a simplified version that they can understand.
Exactly. I would say definitely, as a constituents, do your research, ask questions. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and ask your councilman, ask your commissioner, ask your representative what is happening, how does this bill read. These bills are written long on purpose, so people kind of don't really understand what's going on or what's being passed. I would also say, don't rely on TikTok, because I hear my daughter says things off of it all the time, and I said that's not true. So I just got to tell her to look it up. So if you see something, I always say research it yourself, find out the answer, and it is impossible to know everything like Dusty says. We have to rely on you all to tell us what's going on, how this is affecting you, and what's the best way for us to handle it to make your lives better.
Now, with technology and everything going on, it's scary. But are you guys concerned about the next generation that's supposed to be taking your place? How they're gonna run this country?
I think there has to be some concern with some of the things that are being passed in our state. I feel like they've ruined a lot of things right now, and it doesn't take long to ruin things, but it takes longer to build them back up. And that's what we want to go to the state and pass bills, pull bills back that affect municipalities and counties and our rural ways of living that are affecting us. And, you know, for instance, just the things that happen on the Front Range are not happening out here. So let us determine what we're doing. Let us raise our children. Let them, just let us do our thing and keep our values out here.
So asking your question about the next generation, everyone needs to be at the table. We need to have both those with wisdom and years of experience, those with new energetic ideas, and we can't just flush out all of those who are already in the industry, in politics, and expect the new to come over without any mentorship. I'm proud to say I'm the youngest candidate in the state running, and I will be the youngest elected. And I will bring in a new idea because right now my generation recognizes Memorial Day as the first day of summer. They recognize Veterans Day as the last 3-day weekend before the holiday season. They have lost our grounding as a nation of what it means to be a patriot, what it means to fight for freedom, that freedom is not free. And as Reagan says, we are one generation away from losing freedom. It has a cost. And I think this is where we come to the table and we have to recognize we can't put term limits or age limits on people because they have the experience. But you also can't say no to the new coming in, and we have to work together to get the new ideas, to learn about the artificial intelligence, to learn about this digital world that we are moving into, and we can't fight it. But we can't lose our history, we can't lose our backing, we can't lose our founding fathers' foresight to get us to where we are. So I think we can't point fingers on one or another. We have to listen. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth, come together, work together, and move the needle forward to keep America what it is, while also looking at what we can do to move forward into a digital era.
And I think as far as we have to get today's youth engaged, I talk to a lot of high school students that say, well, my voice isn't going to make a difference or anything like that. And I can tell you, you know, a lot of older people say, well, today's younger generation is lazy. They're not lazy. They're just, they have to be, if they truly believe in something and you put them on it, if they truly believe in it, it's going to get done a heck of a lot faster than possibly even somebody my age. And with that being said, technology is a big part of that. So if you get younger generation on board, you actually can make them believe that they, or tell them that, you know, convince them that they do have a choice. They can go out and do this. They will do that job faster and more efficient than a lot of people.
I think today's youth have a lot of different challenges, and I think this is the battle cry of every generation. You know, in 1960, they thought that things were falling apart. In the 80s, they thought the youth there's no hope for them. Our kids have a lot of challenges. They just went through a global pandemic. They're suddenly being schooled online. Computers are everything. AI is giving them all sorts of information. But I think it's our jobs to get out there and make sure that we're engaging with them. Make sure that their voice feels heard. I mean, this is kind of a sweet spot for me. We get those kids in, we park the phones, and we go do information. And if anybody's ever been over to our office, we have hot button discussions with all different kinds of people, but they're learning to have those discussions. And they're getting examples set of how not to just, you know, throw a tantrum and walk out of the room. You, like, hey, you may have an opinion and it may be different than mine, but we can still be friends. So showing them examples and leading by example is how we're going to really help that next generation along.
So we'll take a little break from the questions. If you guys need some water, someone else to drink. Did you guys need some water?
Yes, please.
So, I'll get you 1 second. I don't know if you guys, when I sent you the email a couple days ago, confirming today, if you guys looked at the numbers at the bottom that I put on there, and kind of why I think that the non-voter and the younger generation needs the technology, needs social media for that. I mean, 29,000 people plus in Morgan County, 17,000 registered voters, 12,000 voted in. And these are, I'm just rounding numbers up, so it's going to be plus or minus, but 12,000 voters in the last presidential election. In the general, just a coordinated election, 7,000. So there's a huge gap difference there. Kevin talked about last night, they're thinking this might be the highest number of registered voters that vote. And for people that haven't even registered yet, they're still expecting a bunch to register to vote. So our social media reach. Right now you're on YouTube, you're on my page, you're on the Brew&Chew podcast page, and then share from there. Some of your guys' opponents are watching, some of the commissioners are watching. We'll just call it out like it is, because they see live who's watching, who's there. So they're listening, they're watching. What is it with social media that you guys think you guys may do better, because that's where it's going? Whether it's for the votes, for getting information out there. I mean, regardless, you gotta have social media is gonna be, whether it's this year or 5 more years, it's gonna be where it's at. What do you guys think you're gonna change?
I think social media is just another tool. You know, much like way back in the days, a train was a tool because you would get on a train and you would go make all the stops and do your campaigning. I think we're campaigning off of social media. And what a great way, like, people don't want to get dressed up and go out in public and sit in the sun at a rally. They want to sit in bed on their phone and hear what the candidates have to say. And I think treating this like a tool and getting good information out there on it is a huge advantage to all of us.
Yeah, I would say a tool, but we need to recognize all of it, because you look at political statistics, I'm a political nerd. Social media does not affect voting and polling like we think it does, but it does affect education and outreach. So out here in rural Colorado, we still need to make sure we're operating by letters, emails, calling, door knocking, as odd as that sounds in the country areas, but we have municipalities, you have to go door knock. You need to make sure you're doing newsletters, and radio is the huge thing out here. But the thing is, we're not fighting against ourselves, we're fighting against the urban area. And so really, when you use it as an educational platform, people are done with the negative, they're done with the campaigning. I challenge all the candidates. I mean, my whole thing is not a focus on my campaign, it's a focus on our rural communities, our businesses, why we do production and operating like we do, and why we need more resources so we don't have 3-man sheriff's teams, because that's just not efficient, safe, or effective. And so really using it as an education point, but realizing when you hone in on that kind of dynamic, 2-3 sentences in a picture. Quick, short, to the point, ground, basic level. You're not using technology, you're not using terminology from these industries, you're using simple terms to share the voice and start the narrative, start the discussions, and that's where we're using this. The attention span today is maybe 15 seconds on TikTok. 1 sentence, a couple words. You really need to sell the message and know how to lead and hone into that message, but for education. And making sure we aren't leaving out the older generations, the newspapers, the radios, just good old driving the miles and meeting with folks and putting in the hard work. So I think we need to look at all of it, and we can't just say we're a digital area yet, but the urban is, and we do need to educate them as well.
Yeah, I still read the newspaper. I
See?
still get my information from the newspaper.
Your fingers still get a little, like inky? Yeah.
Definitely,
So they had the coffee newspaper, like one guy, rubber band.
I would agree. Social media is definitely a tool. This campaign, this primary, it's not going to be one on Facebook. It's going to be one on, like Dusty said, the radio, face-to-face, newspapers. Look at where we're at in rural Colorado. We're from 18 and up. Right now, the younger demographics not voting. We do need to get them engaged. But when they're probably getting on Facebook, the youngers aren't even on Facebook. They're on their TikTok and they're on all the other stuff. They're not looking up myself or Dusty or House District 63. They're looking up a lot of other things going on right now in their lives, what's important to them. So eventually it will be a bigger tool. You know, I remember every Saturday, Sunday, the Denver Post was on our doorstep. Not anymore. You can barely, you know, the Times used to be bigger and it's just getting thinner and thinner. So it is going to be something to be used as a bigger thing. But right now, where we're at right now, it's not going to win any campaigns out here in rural Colorado.
Yeah, and I agree. Originally, I would say I'm not much of a Facebook guy. I'm trying to become more and more of that because I do realize that same thing, Brian. I mean, I was raised with the Rocky Mountain News on our doorstep, pick up the paper when Dad was done, you know, and go through the comics and do all that. Same thing. I watch the news every night. You can get the Fort Morgan Times online right now for like $1 for an entire year. Pretty easy to read online. Still great reporting, good information. And yeah, Facebook, there's a lot of people that I didn't realize until it's been 5 or 6 years, but a lot of people that's all they use for their news is Facebook. You know, you get a snowstorm and if you happen to be on Facebook, you'll see something like, is Highway 34 open between Fort Morgan and Brush? That's how they get their information. So again, it's a tool, it's a valuable, it's one of many, but I like to try to use them all as far as how I get my information.
If I could say really quick too, my daughter and I were driving through Denver the other day, and she's like, "Dad, what's the Denver Post?" Because it says it right there on the building. And I was like, "That was a newspaper, and Papa used to read it every day. I'm sorry, every Sunday. He couldn't bother him. He sat in a recliner." Like, just her asking me what the Denver Post is just like, it's like, wow. Like, that's kind of where we're at right now with the younger generation.
My son did the same thing. We had 3, 4 more were eating pizza, and we were bowling stuff, they were eating pizza. I mentioned a phone book. None of them knew what a phone book was. They said, is that the thing on our phone? I said, no, it's not.
No.
We used to have a phone book with about 1,000 pages sitting on the table. That's how you call people. We had to look up their numbers before. Now it's just, on your phone, you call them. But
Yeah, I'm sure you advertise your liquor store in the yellow pages, so
Yeah.
people get a hold of you. Now it's,
what is it, the Dex online or?
Yeah.
yeah, I'll probably be in the Smithsonian soon or something.
So, go ahead, on this one.
What is your definition of rural, urban, and how is it one affecting the other?
Let me go.
We can go back and forth, that way I'm not, yeah.
Definition of rural, we are rural. The Front Range and Adair, of course, is the urban area. Right now, they have, not only do they have the majority in terms of party side, the Democrat, our Republican rural representatives are low right now too. They have the density, they have the population, and they have the most say what's happening right now in the state of Colorado. And they really don't realize what we do out here in rural Colorado. They just think that they show up at a grocery store and they can get, some beef or corn. They just think it just shows up in a truck and that's where it's at. They have no idea the work, everything that happens out here in rural Colorado. I've said this is the backbone of rural Colorado is our farmers and our ag. If they weren't here, if they didn't homestead here, none of us would be here. My business wouldn't be here. And that is the foundation of what we have right now. And we really it would be nice to have them come out here, bring them out there, see what we do, see how we live, and a lot of how these bills that they're passing really affect the stakeholders of rural Colorado and our day-to-day living from water to building, like housing's a problem, and they want us to pass different bills to be more energy efficient that we can't afford out here and make homes attainable. So there's a big difference between rural and urban, and we do need to make sure to educate both sides on the importance of each of them.
Yeah, so I would say rural are those who we have lower populations, more livestock, more cattle, and more land mass, which is why we are the second largest land mass district in the state, 63 with 7 counties. Urban is when you have a more condensed living arrangement. They have more, housing complexes, and their day-to-day might be a 10 by 10 mile radius, when our day-by-day might be a 100 by 100 mile radius. So it really is a different lifestyle, and it's not bashing one or the other. We have kids who don't see elevators when they go to Denver, and vice versa. They come out to National Western or out here, and they haven't seen a cattle. So, it really is just a different way of life, and noticing that it's not party politics, it's economics. It's ours for rural. We need to make sure that, even with the Republicans, as Brian mentioned, they're gonna vote the urban way all the time because that's what they know. And they don't understand the miles between our communities, unlike they can use a metro, they can jump on that line. And we need to make sure we are not using the USDA definition either, because then you have urban farming. Yeah, it might be a small populated area like Bennett. They consider themselves a rural community, but they're only 20 minutes from Denver. They are still in that landmass area, but they want to then get these subsidies, these tax credits to offset their agricultural production. And they don't understand that you have the miles, the roads, lack of roads out here with a whole bunch of potholes, that rural really is isolated. Smaller communities, more land mass. It's not just a small community next to an urban area. And so trying to share that narrative and just really explaining it's a rural-urban divide and bridging that, because it isn't, again, in past discussions, it's not youth versus wisdom. It's not urban versus rural. It's why are you doing what you do? Why are we doing what we do? How do we come to the table and have a conversation to make that urban mom happy without adding extra fees and regulations to our dairy. And so that would be the difference.
So I won't let you guys answer that because I don't believe that, I think that we need to learn the big city way, where they're going, politics, Denver, because I think when businesses come or people come to our town, it just doesn't work out. Big city doesn't work in the little city. And they don't, I think, I always like to say they need to get educated when they come out to Fort Morgan or to Brush or to Akron, Yuma, those type of places, because big business does not work out here. And I don't know if maybe there's a disconnect there that maybe we in Fort Morgan, Morgan County need to learn the big business way, or do they need to learn our way? What do you guys think?
Go ahead.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, it starts at the very local level because we understand. Obviously, let me get back. The definition between rural and urban is fairly cut and dry, as they had said. But it's a matter of educating and understanding. There's certain things that happen in the urban areas that we don't understand. Obviously, certain things that happen, decisions that they make in the rural community that they don't understand. So it's just a culmination of coming together and educating, and I honestly think we're kind of losing the battle being in a rural community with that. Some decisions that are being made at the state level are affecting us that a lot of people in the urban area don't understand. So we have to have strong people in the urban areas to kind of explain or to try to talk with the people, the urban people, and say, hey, this is why this is the way it is.
I think District 1 is a really good example of this. Wiggins went from a town of 600 people and a voting population of about 1,500 to over 3,000. We have tons of subdivisions, and I see the difference in rural and urban and frontier to all be an access discussion. We have people that have moved to Wiggins and they're like, oh my gosh, where am I going to get my next Christmas tree? It's like, hi, that's up the road again. And you have people that have lived out here forever that are, they've lived through power being out for 2 or 3 days. They know how to butcher their own meat. It's more of a self-sufficiency type of thing. But the urban areas are coming for Morgan County because you can buy a house out here for way less than you can buy one for in the city, and nobody thinks twice about making that drive. So that's one of the things that we're going to have to address in the commissioner race is what are we allowing to come in, what are we not allowing to come in, and whether or not these people are coming in on our terms or they're going to plow through and push us over.
So with that, keeping us happy, keeping our community happy for the commissioners, candidates for commissioner. I talked to a gentleman, this is my own question, because I talked to a gentleman a couple nights ago, after I got done with the podcast. He lives in an area here in town, called in, asked for a road to be checked out, it was getting washed out, getting fixed. Probably one of the higher tax areas in the county for housing. The commissioner wrote back to him and said, yeah, you are the highest taxed one. And then kind of pretty much left it at that, and they never looked at it. Still to this day, hasn't been looked at or fixed. The road gets washed out, road just needs, grade, or maybe they add some, I don't know exactly what it needs to be done, but what caught my attention was that it was just ignored. How would you guys handle that?
Well, like I said, accessibility, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. People, especially in the commissioner's office, have to be accessible, and they have to come back. They have to be able to contact them back. A lot of the things, I think, probably what you're talking about could be essentially a quick fix. They're probably not looking for all the roads, let's say, hypothetically, in Morgan Heights to be paved. They know that's not going to happen. We know that we don't have the money for that. But some of the complaints that are coming in could be a quick fix. Is it a Band-Aid? Yeah, but it still fixes the road until something more can be done. So I think there's a lot of smaller things that could be addressed right away at a pretty easy thing. And again, it's all a matter of, like you said, Juan, get back with the person and say, let me come out, let me take a look at it, let me talk to my road guy, let me see what we can do. A lot of these, again, I hate to keep saying it, because a lot of these can be a quick fix.
I think that's where, as you can see from some of the questions, I think that's where the real disconnect is people out here want simple and easy, understandable. I hate to say it, but I talked about this one time before, got to dumb it down sometimes for us. I know for me, dude, I don't understand some of the stuff that's all talked about in Denver and on, you know, what the president talks about, is the House, Senate, and dumb it down for us, dumb it down for me, because I don't understand that. And when it comes to getting local fixes like that, and you just tell someone, hey, you are the highest tax one, and you don't take care of it, then come on.
It's simple communication skills.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I mean, if you have a question, you come to me. I might not come back with the answer that you were looking for, but if I don't come back with the answer that you're looking for, I'm going to say, look, Juan, this is why this can't happen, or this is why this is this way. And that's the way it is. It's all boils down to very simple communication that we learn when we're young.
And a lot of this has to do with education. Like, how many dollars do we have going into our roads? Don't totally quote me on this, but there's like 17,000 miles of roads in Morgan County. There's a lot. So I know, for example, on our road, you know, 8, 10, 12 years ago, the guy that lived up the road was buddies with one of the commissioners. So every time it rained, our road got graded about once a week. And it is a dead-end quarter-mile road. There is no way that that thing should have been up on the priority list. You know, there's a pattern for how they take care of the roads, and educating people like, hey, this is when your roads are supposed to be done. Oh my gosh, that's washed out. We'll send a guy out to check on it as soon as John gets a chance to. Again, communication and education of, we can't do everything, but we can sure the heck try, or at least explain to you where it lies in the priority right now.
I think one of the things too is definitely reply back to the person and communicate, but what you'll learn is what I learned on council, and commissioners have the same problem at the county level, is we don't have enough employees to get the work done when the roads are washed out. CDL drivers, I know at the city level and county level, aren't paid the best. They'll go work for the oil fields, or they'll go drive someplace else. We have potholes all over the city right now. We got potholes all over every road, the interstate, et cetera. But all of it too is employing people and keeping them there to do the work. So I know there's always short staff everywhere right now. So even when you do, but like everybody touched on, just reply to them and let them know and give them an answer. That's all people want to hear.
I would just say two things. One, not dumb it down. My mom did yell at me at that earlier too, because it isn't dumbing it down. It's, you go into an office and the best doctors have bedside. They can explain what their terminology means in simple terms. And you know they understand the concept. Government cannot explain in simple terms because, one, it's so complicated. We've lost the rule of law in the nation because the rule of law should be a simple based, works for everyone, and everyone has to follow the same formula. You overcomplicate that, and now you have those who can use big terminology, using that to their advantage, and those who don't understand the big terminology are now getting messed up. And instead, we really need to bring it back to the people's level. Instead of trying to so overcomplicate it that no one actually understands what's happening, it's just whoever can use the biggest words in the room, that's what people default to. And speaking of default, really, and you're mentioning the roads, state government should be the lower government. When you're mentioning it and you say higher up with us, local is higher. They are the ones that we should put all the control to. In this race, we really should be pushing to take away the jobs of our federal government. They're only allowed 18 constitutional duties. Rest of those go to the state, and honestly put us out of work that we're wanting to run, and give most of the jurisdiction back to the people who are with the people, which is at the local level.
And one of the things that she said too is, talking about being as a commissioner, like, let's dictate what's gonna happen. The problem that's happening right now is the things are being passed at the state that it's taking your power away as a commissioner. That you might not wanna do it, but you're not gonna have a say-so in it. And that's definitely one of the things that's like, I believe you all should have more say what's going on than we have what's going on in the Capitol, telling you what to do, because you know best, because it's your day-to-day job.
I got a personal question, right? Because it's affecting, I don't know how much it's affecting Colorado, but it's affecting other rural communities in other states. What policies are getting put in place to prevent foreigners from buying American land and then trying to sell it back to the American people for 10 times what it's worth?
I'm not aware of any policies that stop foreign entities from buying land in this country.
I know that,
I think the state of Arkansas passed something,
I
but
saw
that's all I can think
a
of.
program in South Dakota, in the Dakotas, that China, they're coming in and buying farmland from the rural communities and then trying to sell it back for 4 or 5 times what it's worth, and they're really making the farmers go broke out there, and it's just, they're buying, well, the United States, they're selling for the money, they're selling, a lot of, what can I say? A lot of businesses that are like owned, business, like family owned, they're selling them because they're going broke, and now they're just concerned about a lot of foreigners coming in and buying them out.
When you mentioned, I mean, the foreign, we're facing that here in Colorado with our water. We're seeing Nebraska trying to steal our water. We're seeing, even in the state of Colorado, Longmont, Parker trying to steal our water and do the exact same thing, where they are taking it from here in the rural areas and disputing it other places, or they buy the rights, but because they have to use those rights to how they're allocated, which is agricultural production, selling it back to the farmer after we've already done something called buy and dry, which is you separate the water from the land. You don't have water on the land unless you're a dry land farmer. You can't produce anymore, and that land is now not going to be as valuable. So we're seeing it here on local areas, and I think we forget so much that we're so distracted by everything happening internationally and federally. We're letting things happen here in our own state, and we are a headwater state with a water court. We should have a precedence on how to handle this, and we don't, because we are following the magic hand in other places and not even protecting our own property rights, our own water rights here in the state just by surrounding states.
Yeah, Dusty's right. It's happening right here in our own backyard. If you go over to the western slope, a lot of that land's bought up by hedge funds, and nobody knows who's in those hedge funds. They could be from China or from different countries, and they're buying it up for the water rights, and then they're leasing it back and letting somebody farm it, but they really don't care about the land. They're interested in the water. So it's happening right now, and there are things that need to be done.
So, are at about an hour. We still got a few questions. We're gonna do one apiece each, and then we'll kind of end if that's good with you, unless you guys want a couple more questions.
You're the boss.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we'll do one each question, and then we'll kind of let everybody do their own little spiel towards the end, and we'll do ours and call it good. So we have attended planning commission meetings and been there when rules and restrictions were put in place for developments, but with frustrated residents, realtors do not follow them, are not aware of the restrictions or rules, policies applied to developments. What would you do to enforce these? The sheriff's office does not want to enforce or have anything to do with the planning commission, and the planning commission is not much help. They did have one person trying to enforce them, but did not last long. Is it possible that it's time for a code type officer to be out in these areas before our county looks like a third world country? So where this question's coming from, I believe you outside Morgan County, or outside of Morgan city limits, or
County.
new solar farms coming up, the other construction that's going on. I think a lot of these people coming into town, they just don't respect our roads. They don't respect our town and our rules, and are coming in, hauling through these roads, hauling down the roads with equipment, and just disrespecting some of the people's land out here. I think that's kind of, my guess is where that's coming from. So it'd be more towards the commission side.
I think this is going to be a hot topic, and this is something that's really important about why people are really selective about who they choose for these commissioner seats. We have had, I know with the growth that's happened in the last 10 years, a lot of that has been kind of unbridled. As commissioners, as municipalities, they have the right to add on development fees, impact fees, emergency EMS fees. And they've chosen not to do that because they want to just sell the land. I think that's something that we're going to have to address. And it's really hard to address this particular issue without knowing exactly what it is. But again, I think that's something that if you elect the right commissioners, they're going to have a bead on, and they're going to make sure that everybody that comes into Morgan County to use our land, to buy our land, to do their business here is going to be of benefit to the citizens of Morgan, not to the big business or to somebody else's pocketbooks.
I like how Jodi used the word unbridled. I agree with that. There are rules that are set in place. Are these rules being followed? Is there somebody that follows up on these? I don't know. There obviously should be, because you have people that are upset about them not being done. It's a checks and balances thing, obviously. I firmly believe that if somebody has land, if they want to do something on that land, as long as it's not unethical, immoral, or illegal, they should have the right to do that. They should have the right to sell it to whatever, or do whatever they want with that. So I really think the land use privileges need to be protected, obviously. But then, on the other side, you have maybe the neighbor that's not quite happy with that. Well, again, that neighbor had that opportunity to buy that land to protect themselves just like anybody else.
And I think, like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with what's, I picked on topic, on solar topic. I mean, I think might have talked to you guys about it, but, again, I think it's where it comes from, is that big city comes to little city, and it just doesn't work out. And, I do think that maybe the commissioners, I know they work with the economic development group when business come into town. I think we need to separate that, because I think we need to separate these companies coming in and want to put those people on our boards. I think that's conflict of interest. I also believe that they're not vetting these people correctly. I know the solar farm going out, be north, I think north of Brush, no one that's going to go up. You can all find out about anything about anybody on the internet if you want. If you dig, I mean, granted, don't believe everything you see and hear and read on the internet, but if they would have vetted these people, they'd see that they're a makeshift company. There's no office. There's nobody there. It's a vacant building. I mean, what are we gonna do about that? I mean, that even comes up to your guys' level. How are we gonna stop that type?
One thing on this one, so Loch Buoy, not that long ago, was a little tiny place. Brighton was a little tiny place. They were really smart about how they did their development, and it's benefited their communities. And not that we want to be that big, but we have the ability to put those limits, just like these guys said, at the local level, we have the ability to say, if you want to come play on our playground and be in our community, then here's what you need to do that.
And I totally believe in modernization. I think we need to have it, but in the correct way. Don't tell us what to do. Ask us if it's okay to do it.
Has to be controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I think it comes up to it's going to have to go up to the next level on some of these things, because some of these guys, I think, are taking advantage of you.
And I honestly would say, I strongly believe in local control, private property, capitalism. The state level is to deregulate, so that way we can have smart, responsible businesses coming in. But honestly, as a state candidate, I should not be telling our local government how to operate these decisions when they come into their jurisdiction. And if I would answer this question now, I'd be coming in as a big government, telling little government candidates what they should do, aside from protecting our private properties, believing in capitalism, and defaulting to local control.
Kind of like Jodi said, is kind of what's happened in Wiggins. It's happened in the entire county of Morgan, just to pick on Morgan because we're here, is that people are driving until they can afford something. And right now, it's not a bad commute from Fort Morgan to Metro Denver, even on the outskirts here, Loch Buoy, Brighton, what it's turned into. And I'm not picking on Denver or anybody else, but when they're moving out to out to rural Colorado, and they're coming with brokers who aren't acquainted with what we have out here in terms of wells, septics, all the different things. A lot of the developments do have covenants. Some do have HOA, which is rare out here, but they're not doing their customer any justice when they come out here and they sell them a home, because they're just being like, here's your home, welcome to it, this is the Wild West. And we're not the Wild West out here. And it's hard for people to adapt because they don't know all the rules, because they're not taught the rules when they show up. Like, their well might be bad. They don't get it tested. They don't do a lot of things. So there's a lot of education that needs to be done. I mean, as a realtor and other people when they're coming to rural Colorado, to know how we do things out here.
Have you seen a lot of urban people come to the rural communities and then leaving fast, like selling their homes fast because they can't adapt?
Yeah, of course. I've had some customers that when they moved here and they said the wife gave us 5 years. They moved here, they had a 6-month-old. By the time they left, they might have had 3 kids. But the wife was like, you know what? I can't do it out here. They moved back. You see it a lot. Sometimes I give tours from the hospital, and there's not a lot of the amenities that they're used to. So it makes it hard. They come here, it sounds fun, small town USA, but we don't have the amenities, so a lot of them just pick up and leave. I've sold homes on the listing side, and they come out here with their buyer's agent from Denver. You sit at the table, closing table, and you're like, did you take a job out here? They're like, no, this is the only home I can afford. So they bought the house, they might sit there 6 months, pretty soon I'll see it on Facebook, it's for rent. And they're right back in Denver. So they try, but like I said, there's a lot of different things, how what we do is different. Everything just doesn't, we don't have all the restaurants, we don't have all the indoor swimming pools, we don't have all the club teams, we don't have all the things that a lot of people are used to, and they come out here and they don't see it and then they'll leave. So yeah, I do see a lot of them coming back here and then turning around within 12 months.
So we'll go with one last question. Again, apologize to the people that I tried to get to all of them. We tried to. If we do this again, I'll still keep them. We'll ask them again. But we'll let Freddie ask the last one, then what we'll do
Bro,
is.
you got this tongue twisting question right here. Oh my God, man.
So I had to write these down.
Jodi did.
Which one want to read?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks.
That's hers.
I saw that bus.
That's hers.
Okay, so this was gonna be the last one for you guys, for you two. Came in, it says, a quote that you both of you have been quoted saying, I don't claim to know everything, but know who does. Whose quote, where'd you guys get it, and what do you mean by know those who do? Who is those?
You see what I did there? You see what I did there? That's what
I think that was mine. I started it, and Dusty didn't ask permission to use it.
I just want to say I was on this campaign since last year, and it was in my press announcement.
I'm just kidding. Nobody knows everything. We know that. And one of the things when, for instance, when I was a lobby liaison, a federal political coordinator with the National Association of Realtors with Cory Gardner when he went to Congress, and Dusty knows this too, they have staff because they don't know everything. And then sometimes they'll rely on me because I know the housing market. So they'll call back to Colorado and they're like, Brian, what are you seeing in Colorado, specifically rural Colorado? So when I've been out campaigning, I did grow up in Fort Morgan, and it is heavily ag out here. I don't know everything about ag. I went and branded cows because we got out of school. You know, I've walked fields, pulled rye. I've helped my buddies irrigate so we can get out to the basketball court quicker. So I'm not an expert, but I know people will come to me, or I could call them, and they appreciate the fact that you reach out to them and say, I don't know everything, Freddie. I don't know about all these hot dogs. Can you help me? What's the best hot dog that's going to go on a potato bun or something along those lines?
Freddy's New York.
So we have to rely heavily on our constituents. Like I said, we've both said it. They're our bosses at the end of the day. So we need to reach out to them, and they need to give us the right information so we can do good on them.
Yeah, so I would say it's twofold. Every issue out here matters, and you need to be equipped to answer those on the spot. You will be as a representative at a committee where you have literally a minute, amendment's been dropped, and you have to make a decision in the best of your interest. You can't default to your staff. You can't default to texting a friend, a farmer out here. You need to know enough to have the conversation and know the direction you're going for your people. But as soon as you say you know everything, the room is skewed. You have lined the room with yes men. I will never claim that I know everything. I know enough to keep the conversation going, enough to go toe-to-toe with whoever I need to at the well, in a committee, and to move forward with lobbyist debates that happen at 3 a.m. when everyone else is sleeping like they should be, because we don't believe in, sleep, we believe in coffee and politics. And so really I really do want to be the voice of the people, but I don't want to say that I don't know anything, I don't know enough, because then how do you make the hard decisions or win those colleagues over on both sides of the aisle? But I do want to have someone in my back pocket from every industry, from every county, from every community, trusting the staff, but understanding also the staff might have been there longer than you've been there, and they will play games as well. So knowing who you can trust, how you can trust them, and who has treated you right, so you can trust their word before you get a title.
And Juan, I know this was their question, but I want to kind of chime in on that for just a little bit, is it's not necessarily having all of the answers, it's knowing where to get the correct answer. I've got no problem by saying, you know what, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't
think
know.
a lot of people should say that. I don't know.
But I'll find out. I will get that answer. I will get back to you. So, I mean, that's what's really important, is knowing where to find the right answer if you truly don't know it.
And I would say definitely, we need that, but we claim a higher, it should be a lower level at the state government. As soon as that's your default 99% of the time, you've lost credibility with your members. You've lost credibility with the lobbyists. You are gonna get steamrolled. You need to know enough about every issue to keep the conversation going. But yes, you're never gonna know anything as someone who does it 24 hours a day. Someone who's not at the table to eat because they're living it. And so it needs to be a balance of both.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
okay. And knowing the interplay of how things go together. There are so many people that have no idea what nonprofits are and what they do and how they play into the political climate and the economic climate. You know, we need to know those bases of how everything goes together. And then, like everybody said, then we need to have people to reach out to. Farmers, oil workers, dairy people, all those things.
So, yes or no on this? Are you gonna come out, this is a question that's sent also, I'm gonna add myself and Freddie on this one because it's gonna work out on this one. Are you gonna come out to the farmer's field during mid-harvest, midnight, if you need to relate to him an issue that he asked you about, and he wants to know the answer to, and it's very important to him, let's say on healthcare, so you gonna come climb on his tractor and tell him?
Of course.
I've already been doing it, yes.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Absolutely, I've
Come
taken
to my store
several.
at 3 in the morning when I'm stocking beer to tell me?
Yeah?
No, we're
Freddie's
just
hot
gonna
dogs, if he's
text
serving
you.
hot dogs?
Yeah.
What about Freddie, if he's serving hot dogs in mid-afternoon, he got a line of 10 people, 30 people? Gonna come and eat a hot dog and give him his information?
Yeah, have you tasted those hot dogs?
That's what I want to hear.
If Freddie has a line of 30, he's not going to be wanting to talk to us.
So, guys, hopefully, I mean, this is a different vibe, this is a different way of doing things. I know I'm not doing it by the book. And obviously, you can see by the way I'm dressed, I come from work, I'm not doing it by the book. Hopefully, it's not disrespect to you guys, the way I'm dressed, I come here, and the way we do things, but
As long as we smell good, we all
yeah,
right.
I did take a shot. But this is the way that my friends are looking for information.
Yeah, facts.
I know maybe we might not all sit at the same table or sit at the bar and have a beer, but you want us to vote for you, you want us to come looking for you, you want us, I mean, you gotta come out and talk to us in this way, in this style, in this language. It's just how it is. So, one quick thing from each one of you before we close it out, whatever you wanna say, make it a quick minute or so, and we'll wrap it up.
Before anything, I want to shout out Brian, the Cognac Chelsea boots. Respect them.
Thank you.
Real talk. I rock Chelsea boots, so I like the Cognac color.
Go ahead.
I want to say thank you so much for having us, because I really want to represent the people, and by people, I mean all the people of Morgan County. And I appreciate you stepping up and asking the questions and inviting us to be here today.
Same thing. Again, I want to thank you guys for doing what you do. You had said that you don't maybe think that you're doing it right. This is perfect. This is what it is. It's communication. It's two people talking. You're asking questions. You got questions from the general public. We're here to answer them. And I appreciate that from both of you. Again, I'm still always available. I'm very, very easy to find. If anybody has any questions for me, please find me. And I appreciate your support.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the invite, and thank you for being here this evening. And kind of what you're saying, like, look how I'm dressed and I'm not doing this the right way, is, one, don't judge a book by its cover. And you know what? Everybody gets their information from a different source, and this might be somebody's source. So it's important that we're here to let them know, like, what our ideals are and why we're running for this campaign. So thank you for putting this together this evening.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the treats, the drinks. My promise since I was in high school was I will always get on my knees to pray, stand up for what I think is right, be able to look myself in the mirror. I am someone that will do what I say and say what I do. I will be boots on the ground where the people are, and my ask to all the voters is make sure you're following what people are saying. My message has stayed the same since day one of this campaign. Make sure you're following candidates to make sure their message is staying the same and not changing because of who's in the room, who might be listening, or what might get them votes. Make sure you're getting informed, you're getting active, and I will challenge you, Juan, that if you don't vote, you can't complain. You can't be that couch potato. So that's my message to everyone this year. Dusty from Colorado.com. Dusty, FORcolorado.com.
That goes for you too, Freddie.
Yes, I know.
Oh, he's registering Sunday. We got him.
We're going live with the register.
No, we're gonna do a live register for Freddie on Sunday, so.
Cool.
Any last thing, Freddie?
Oh, man, we're good. I just hope to see you at the hot dog cart.
So,
Yeah.
with that, guys, I will wrap mine up, because do have one last thing to say.
I thought you
When I
already
put
did.
this together, I emailed everybody. Everybody got an email. Myself got an email, Freddie got an email. We all knew what was going on, okay? I had a deadline to meet. I emailed on the Thursday, I think it was. I reminded everybody on the Sunday, I had a deadline on Monday at noon. The reason for the deadline is somebody has to pay for the venue that we're gonna do this at. With 8 candidates, I was hoping to get us 75 to 100 people. It was gonna be a ticketed show or event at $10 a person. After the venue paid, which wasn't gonna be that much, everything was gonna be donated to a cause that Freddie and I picked, to either a person or a foundation or whatever that was. So it was not gonna be no money made. With that, if you're running for a political office, you better check your spam folder. You better check every folder that you have in your email, because it's not gonna go directly to you. But as you guys got the email, you've seen at the top of your email, 8 names and 8 emails, including ourselves, that it went to. So for the excuse saying that you didn't get the email, I'm gonna call it bullshit. And I don't like doing that, but it is, because I don't wanna be dogged on, I don't wanna be talked about that I didn't do the right thing in the right way. I did not go and ask or beg anybody to come to this. I asked you guys. Respectfully, thank you for coming out, those that you did. So when you hear that, I'm not gonna air out everybody's dirty laundry online, but I did not beg anybody, and I will not beg anybody to come on our podcast, because that's not what we're about.
Yeah, but 50% is okay, and I'm happy with the 50% that came.
So, if anybody else has questions over here? No?
But 50% is not okay. Hold your candidates responsible because you're hiring them.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's okay for me because, you know, I'm not gonna, when I vote, it's gonna be with who's in front of me, not with who, I couldn't make it, and I ain't trying to hear none of that right there, so.
So, again, thank you guys, appreciate it. Again, maybe this isn't the correct way of doing things, but this is our way of doing it with the mistakes and everything that we got going.
Okay, I got one more thing, and I guarantee you that everybody echoes this, and if I wouldn't have jumped in front of Dusty, she would have said it. You're being involved, and we appreciate you being involved. And I don't care how you show up. It's not my place to judge how you show up. You're showing up how you show up. You created this for it. Yes, please, everybody, do the same thing.
Well, and Jodi, I'll push saying that we need to dress nice because this is our interview. You're the
Right.
bosses. You dress how you want to, so thank you.
Shout out to Brian,
You're
he
the
recognized my
people.
Jordans too, I mean, so, Brian's a Jordan man, huh?
I'm a shoe guy.
If there's anything from us, if not, we'll end it, and make sure you guys tune in Sunday, because we'll review what we did, and Freddie's gonna sign up to vote.
Definitely.
So, thank you guys,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Oh, my ears.
Those are off. Wow.
Yeah, we don't like the headphones, Juan.
But it helps, you can hear everything a lot better.
You can, but
They need more ventilation.
I was just gonna say my ears feel suffocated.
I know my ears are like on fire.
Yeah.
So now I'll turn everything
I was stick them next to the AC.
Remember that like the AC went off and it was good for about 45 minutes and then it's like,
Oh, I know. I think I started running my AC like in March. Like I just like being cold. I mean hot.
Okay,
I really like playing with you.
there you go.
Probably sounds bad.
No,
but,
well,
we think too much alike, Tim.
we do. I just want to know what are these?
Oh, these boots are just Chelsea boots.
Chelsea boots, okay.
Yeah, just pull-up boots.
I guess I need to get out more often. Those do look good. Yeah, I like them. Okay.
They're easy.
Never heard that before. All right.
So we'll go, it's already on, as we're running up, it's live. It'll repost again